Here's Brody Brazil.
So here we are right around the corner from the start of another 49ers season. And I know there's a lot of fans out there right now. Their primary focus and primary wonder is this. Will the team be spending, I don't know, maybe $200 million on two separate players named Ayuk and Williams? I guess we'll find that out, yes or no, in the near future. But what we do know is as of today, the San Francisco 49ers have pledged $200 million for upgrades at Levi Stadium. It's a venue they've called home now for 10 years. This will be season 11. It opened up back in 2014. And to no surprise, right? You get to this point of a stadium in its existence, and you have to start implementing the upgrades if you want to continue the success that it's had. Levi Stadium broke ground April of 2012, opened up in July 2014. When it opened, the estimated cost was about $1.3 billion. Now, that value has changed here in 2024 money, which we'll talk about in just a second. 68,000 plus seats, 174 luxury suites. All of those are getting upgraded as part of this $200 million. I'll tell you where that 200 is going in just a second. But obviously, they've been hosting big events from Super Bowl 50 to FIFA soccer events to concerts. Taylor Swift brought the tour in a couple times. Levi Stadium is also set to host, obviously, FIFA World Cup matches when it comes around, as well as Super Bowl 60. So they get 50 and 60. And also the timing of this $200 million, you'd have to think they're announcing it now so that they can plan it through the course of this regular season so that they can execute it like next summer in time for the full next season and eventually the Super Bowl 60 that they will be hosting. The improvements are this. Video board upgrades, so they're going from the screens they've always had now to what will be the largest 4K screens of any NFL stadiums on the north and south end zones. They'll also upgrade the LED field lights, so better coverage, and you've seen this in stadiums nowadays with the LEDs. They can kind of program them, do a little bit of a light show. They'll have much more capability to do cool things with those LED lights. Yes, they're more energy efficient. Yes, they may provide a more even lighting platform, but they'll be upgrading the lights. And it's kind of interesting too, like when Levi Stadium came around, we weren't yet at 4K and we weren't fully yet at like every light being LED. So it's kind of getting modernized of just the things that it barely missed when it came out in 2014. They're also putting in 1,300 Wi-Fi 6 access points. So they're really trying to make sure that when you go to a game or a concert or a match of any kind, that your phone's going to work so that when you want to stream something live, you want to share it with your friends, why wouldn't you want your fans being your best ambassadors? Like in the moment, look where I'm at. Look how beautiful this is. Oh yeah, you can see all my pictures instantly because I've got a good connection here. The suites, I think I said 170 something. Apparently 120 is the number I received, are getting upgraded here. And you have to understand that for big events, a Super Bowl coming in, they're trying to make sure that those premium spaces in the corporate side also get taken care of here. So $200 million of perspective, because some people might say, well, that's a lot of money. Some people will say, wait a second, I see teams and municipalities putting in $500 million into a stadium. How come the 49ers only need $200 million? Well, the current cost with inflation, with everything else, the current cost of Levi Stadium, if they had to build it right now, more like $7 billion. $200 million is about 12% of $1.67 billion. So that is a significant amount. I mean, they're not rebuilding 12% of the stadium. They're only doing scoreboards, lighting system, Wi-Fi, and the suites, right? But 12% of the total cost if they built it again. $280 million as of right now, is the 2024 team's payroll. And I don't mean coaches, staff, front office. I mean just the players. So the 49ers aren't even spending a full season of players' salary to upgrade their stadium, which they probably hope the upgrade will take them through another decade of playing football and other events there. How about the contract Nick Bosa signed at the start of last year? 5 years, $170 million total. Okay, so that's for one player for 5 years. Just one player they spend $170 million on. So you can kind of see on one hand, 200 is significant. But on the other hand, 200 is probably in their realm of things they can afford, and especially if it somehow pays them back. Now, I tried to do some research here on what a Super Bowl alone would generate for not only the team or the stadium, but also the region. The estimates are all over the place. Anywhere from $300 million to $1.3 billion for the entire region. Now, the team is not recouping necessarily a large portion of that. It goes to hotels and restaurants and airports and all that stuff. But when you host a Super Bowl, inherently you do, I think, get something back on that. So even if the 49ers were to get $50 million back of the $200 they spend, this also upgrades the facility, then they can maybe get more for events, whether it's renting the place or tickets. There's a lot to this, a lot of moving pieces. So here are my takeaways about this $200 million of upgrades. Number one, and if I didn't mention this before, I think I alluded to it, but let me make it very clear. This is privately funded. So as much as I talk about here on my channel, cities and counties and states and local government paying for upgrades of stadiums and the teams holding those municipalities kind of like hostage and saying, if you don't do this, we'll leave. No. The 49ers said, we'll pay $200 million. We'll do this. We're just going to do this. Privately funded. So for any kind of criticism or they're not doing the right things I want or like, I don't know how the conversation can go much farther than it's privately funded. The conversation for me kind of ends right there. Good for the 49ers. That's great. This should kind of be a model that if you want to fix up your home, kind of like if I want to fix up my home, I got to pay for it. Who else is going to step in and necessarily pay for it? So they're privately funding this. I appreciate that. I applaud that. I do wonder, however, how much cost is going to be passed on to the customers, right? Like the suites are better. Now, maybe corporations are paying a little bit more to rent out those suites. Maybe the rates go up. That's fine. That's on the companies. That's a business-to-business thing. I just don't want to see the fans necessarily get, rate hiked a little bit. I don't want to see their prices go up because the stadium needed this, because the team thought the stadium needed this. It's kind of like a dog chasing its tail a little bit, right? It's the cycle of, well, we need more, we need better. Well, it's going to cost more. But then the fans are like, well, we don't want more. Anyway, I also, though, on the flip side of that, right? On the flip side of I don't want to see costs go up exponentially for fans, I do also realize that when you run a venue like this and it's a competitive business of professional sports, here in 2024, fans expect a certain level of something. Now, I don't know if it has to be the best out there, but it's got to be competitive to what fans are witnessing other fans getting in their stadiums and teams. It's better to stay ahead of the upgrade curve. Now, every 10 years for Levi Stadium, that seems pretty frequent. I think you could go to 15 or 20 years, but 10 years, they've got a couple big events coming up. They're trying to get ahead of this. And if you don't do these upgrades, you turn into the Oakland Coliseum. And I'm talking about the 80s and 90s and even into the 2000s for the Coliseum. I know they put Mount Davis up in the mid-90s. That was not an upgrade in a variety of ways. But my point is, if you don't put something into the facility, if you don't keep upgrading it, another great example is right down the road from Levi Stadium, SAP Center. They have spent more on SAP Center to upgrade it over the years, over its 30-plus years, than they originally spent to build it at this point. And the building looks great. It's actually one of the oldest in the NHL, but you'd never really know it, especially when you see all the upgrades that have been happening this summer. When you walk in the door, you're going to be like, wow, this place is new still, new again. So it's better to stay ahead of that curve. I do applaud the 49ers for paying for this and for staying ahead of the curve. I would also say that if you're trying, though, to keep up, like SoFi Stadium goes up and they've got that big ring scoreboard, or other venues across the country, whatever the Buffalo Bills are doing, like if you're going to try and play that keep up and catch up game, you're just never going to be able to do it successfully. You are always going to be behind that chase. Keeping up is difficult. It's near impossible. So I hope the 49ers can just suffice improvement. I hope the fan experience is that much better. And like I said, it's $200 million of the team's money. So good on them for committing to that. Now, let's see if those contracts happen in the near future. Maybe by the time you're watching this, one or both of them have happened. You've made it here to the end of the video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That'll greatly help me and this video and this channel. I would like that. By the way, I would love it if you make sure right now that you go down there, hit that subscribe button so I can definitely see you back here next time.